Smart cities and the digital supply chain. Joining us to speak about that today, Doug Kimball, Senior Director of Product Marketing at JDA. Doug, welcome.
Thanks, Russ. Glad to be here.
Well, Doug, let's start out by talking about the implications of smart cities and the digitalization of the supply chain. Walk us through that. What do you say?
We could spend several hours on that. I'll try to keep it to a short discussion. I see the smart cities as having a huge impact in everything that we're doing on the supply chain, both on the digital side, manufacturing, retail, et cetera. We've heard a lot of things during this conference about cybersecurity, about protocols and standards. So typically logistics and retail get most of the attention because buying things and moving things are more exciting. My role at JDA focused on the manufacturing side, so I want to talk a bit more about that. So that's more production planning, demand sensing, et cetera. To keep it short, I'm going to focus on three things, kind of the customer of one concept, the idea of basically enhancing collaboration, and then finally looking at how to manage through disruption. So, and all that requires that digital supply chain being underlying all those pieces.
Well, then let's talk about the drivers of this digital supply chain, particularly, of course, as it relates to manufacturing.
Okay. Manufacturing supply chain digitalization, it's a fascinating topic. I'm very excited by it because it's a lot of fun stuff. What drives that to me is the customer. Ultimately, we have a more digitally demanding and more savvy consumer than ever before. They understand how to change the process. They understand how to get engaged in the process. So manufacturers have to be able to tailor their supply chains and utilize the various data points that are out there in order to meet that need of the customer. Now, it's not just the CPG customer who's going out and buying online, buying a pair of tennis shoes, for example. It could be the production planner who's saying, hey, I've got material that's inbound to my facility. How do I know if there's a change in that? How do I know if I need to schedule things differently in order to plan my production line differently, or source from another situation, or plan to say, hey, my service level agreements aren't going to be met because the material's not coming in time. So that the customer is not just the person who's buying the traditional things. It could be looking at biologics, it could be chemicals. All these people who are focusing on the buying of the material, they're more demanding. They want to understand where things are. They want to have that attention paid to them. And that's a huge piece of what's driving this shift. So this more digitally aware, more demanding customer creates this shift for manufacturers, really across all the entire supply chain, but especially for manufacturers, having to respond to that and change their systems to become more digitally enabled to meet that customer of one concept.
You know, one of the things that I believe I've heard you talk about is enhanced collaboration.
Yes.
Well, let's define our terminology here. Let's drill down. Just what do you mean by that?
Collaboration. We've been talking about collaboration for decades. It's a topic I'm very passionate about, and we've made progress on the collaboration front. We're doing a lot better. We're able to get our suppliers connected.
We often talk about it much more than we practice it, but yes, we're getting a little bit better.
It's been 20, 30 years since we talked about collaboration. We could take a whole tangent on that. In my mind, the concepts underlying smart cities, that ability to have those more connection points, more network, that network of networks concept, to me that really starts to drive a whole new era of collaboration ability. I'll say ability because hopefully we'll get there. You can internetwork your machines, you can internetwork your buses, you can internetwork your production processes, your retails. All these things become tied together. So now that having that ability to have this more instantaneous or near-time communication with your customers, with your production facilities, with your retail, with your shipping, in my mind, hopefully this takes us from collaboration being a plan to more of course we're collaborating. And if you extend that down to the manufacturing floor, for example, you have a smart factory. So now you have the ability to have systems integrated so that the production systems, for example, are talking to each other. So instead of a line that might be producing, I'm just making an example here, typically produces 100 units an hour. And now the line's running very efficiently, now it's producing 150 units an hour. Okay? Well, functionally that's great unless you think about the supplies coming in on the one end, and you've got a plan for your workforce on the other end. Maybe when the machine starts running a bit hot, so now we have a good thing turning into a bad thing. So now if these collaborative machines are communicating with each other, we can push capacity on another line, or it can communicate to the manager saying, hey, we've got a sensor that's running hot here, or this might be going down in a couple hours. And extend that collaboration even further, now we say, hey, because I know what's going on across these systems, across the enterprise, I can do planned downtime. Looks like this machine's running hot, it's having this problem for a while. I can plan to take it down for 24 hours, which is a whole lot cheaper, taking that capacity out for 24 hours versus it breaking down and taking 2 or 3 months to fix. So those are just some of the things I see on the collaboration side that are, again, being enabled by that digitalization, having a signal sent back up to somebody to say, here's what's going on, or a machine talking to another machine and saying, hey, can you help in this process? So that's just some of the areas I see in collaboration. As to your point, we've been talking about it for years. Where else can we go?
You know, if collaboration is something that doesn't happen quite often enough, here's something that happens more often than we would like to see, and that's disruptions.
Yes.
And so the question is, given that, how is digitalization going to impact that scenario? What do you say?
And disruptions, sometimes we think of things like hurricanes, sometimes we think about things like weather, we think about events, we think about politics. We use the term SNU, right? A lot of people use the term SNU, social, news, event, and weather. So you look at the socially influenced supply chain is the term we've been using. Somebody tweets about a particular product, or a movie star says something about something, or I complain about a product. If a manufacturer isn't paying attention to these kind of feeds, these kinds of things can disrupt their sales, can disrupt their ability to have production. They may be producing a bunch of stuff and it doesn't get sold. Or on the positive side, somebody says something really good about a product and the demand dramatically increases. By having that ability to have those real-time data signals coming in and responding to that, they can either increase production, slow production, shift it, or maybe they shift their production to go to a particular region because these people are talking a lot about it on the social side. On the weather side, weather analytics have a tremendous ability to make a good impact on your ability to manage your forecast and to meet your demand. So those are just some of the things we look at from managing disruptions. They don't have to be life-altering. They can be small things that somebody says or impacts your overall supply chain that you can respond to that. But you have to have those data signals. And that's where that smart city concept and the digitalization comes in play for the manufacturers.
Final question, very briefly. What is it that I need to do if I'm a manufacturer who wants to stay ahead of the game? What do you tell me?
Be connected, be intelligent, and be autonomous. So on the connected side, that really means looking at, considering you get access to those data signals, looking at the IoT, looking at the mobile feeds, bring that into it, having visibility across the supply chain. On the intelligence side, really starting to look at real-time data insights, and you have the ability to make those dynamic real-time adjustments to your business and intelligently optimize that to meet the needs of the customer. And then finally, on autonomous, you're looking at smart robotics, you're looking at data science, you're looking at the ability to have that self-learning supply chain to adjust to all those needs. And with that, you've got to hire data science, you got data scientists, you got to change the face of your business. You may have to educate a lot of people in your organization, at all levels, and there'll probably be some bumps and bruises along the way, but just get started.
Highly informative stuff, Doug. Thank you so very much for meeting with us.
Appreciate it.
It's Doug Kimball, JDA, speaking with us today about smart cities, digital supply chain. Thank you for watching.